I'm John Malanca with The Sacred Plant, and in lesson number 1 of Module 7 of the Healing Brain Masterclass, we address recommendations for ongoing work with a medical cannabis doctor. Back in Module number 1, we've raised the importance of finding a qualified doctor, and most importantly, finding one who is experienced and trained in working with medical cannabis and patients. As you continue to work on your personalized treatment plan with your medical team, there is always more to learn about what works for each patient. Let's join Dr. Stein now as we discuss this topic. Welcome back, Dr. Stein, and welcome back to our Sacred Plant family. This is Module 7, Lesson 1. This is our last module, so we're really going to bring on the energy for you and fill this up with a lot of information. So we're going to finalize this last module, starting with recommendations on how to, one, find the right medical cannabis doctor for you, as well as how to talk to your doctor, your primary care doctor. Maybe they're the perfect fit for you. So we're not asking you to leave your current doctor, but bring the question up. Is medical cannabis right for me? And if you don't know this answer, can you recommend someone for me? Just like Dr. Stein has a lot of recommendations from a lot of neurologists here in town that trust you. And so can you share what you've seen in patients that have been referred to you, and why they come to you, and what makes you stand out, and what types of conversations you have with them to make them feel comfortable about cannabis is the right choice for them?
A conversation that often comes up when they're here in the clinic is, this is not what I expected.
Yeah.
I think the majority of cannabis patients, or I should say wannabe cannabis patients, their concerns have to do in part with what to expect in the cannabis doctor's office. What am I going to see? Who am I going to talk to? What's it going to be like? How hard is it going to be to get my card? Mm-hmm. What kind of doctor, if any, am I really going to see? And oftentimes patients will say, wow, this is just like a regular doctor visit. And I tell them, yes, it is. It's all good, right? And they're like, yes, it's all good. We were afraid that we were going to see some doc in a box that doesn't really know anything, and we don't want that. We want real medicine, and that always warms my heart.
Yeah.
Because those patients are in the right place. And I hope that this word gets out to people that are interested in taking the leap, putting their trust in a cannabis doctor, and moving forward with cannabis therapy, because it can be so helpful for so many things. But there are so many people that are just too nervous to take the leap.
You know what? Being in the industry, Corinne was one of those people. I remember the day that she went into the doctor's office for her father, but even her first dispensary visit. She was a nervous Nelly, and she just felt, how am I coming in here? Who's going to see me walk in here? Is it going to be the back alley like, we were brought up that way? A lot of doctors out there have the same feeling as a normal office. You are doctors. You've been you've had a practice on how to work with patients, and you just added this other tool to your arsenal in your practice. And so thank you for sharing that information, because a lot of our followers I know are in the same boat that Corinne was in. What to expect. And so maybe we should do a little walkthrough of what a typical office visit is with you.
Sure. Well, it begins prior to the appointment.
Okay.
The whole experience we want to provide is one of information, mm-hmm. Comfort and trust, and it begins with that first communication. So let's say a patient finds us on the internet. They have the opportunity to look at our website and learn more about us, hopefully gain some confidence that we're the real deal, and then choose an appointment and submit their confidential information using a confidential DocuSign type form. And then we call them. Chanel calls them, and with her pleasant countenance tells them that we were happy they sent their information, and gives them more information about how they need to come to the office with their medical records and their payment and so forth, and what to expect and where we're located.
ID as well?
ID is especially important. If the individual is from out of state, it's helpful to bring some documentation but really they need to submit that to the state regarding their seasonal residence.
Okay.
But at least they need their documentation that they're a U.S. resident. We have some Canadians that come down and spend the season here, so they bring their passport because we need their passport number to register them. So we give them all that nuts and bolts type information in a pleasant, comforting way to reduce whatever anxiety they may have. We confirm that they're coming in. We have, on the day of their appointment, a comfortable waiting room, a professional atmosphere. Of course, there's additional forms to fill out that the state requires. And then when they're ready, and I'm ready, they come back to my office.
Great.
We sit down in my office. It's comfortable, professional. We talk about their condition, their experience with cannabis. And I do a brief exam, if appropriate, review their records, and make a recommendation and teach them about cannabis therapy. And that's the most important part.
What I always recommend to families that call me is bring your family member in there, bring your loved one in there with you, so you have some support staff, questions that you may forget to ask, that you'll have your spouse may remember, and that's why I'm a big fan of journaling down. Have a list of questions that you want answered and that you're expecting to get out of there, because nothing wrong, as you mentioned it. What do you call it when you grab the doorknob again?
Doorknob comment.
Doorknob comment. When you walk in, I go, oh, I forgot to ask him about this. And so I'm a fan of that. And I don't know if you've ever had this, but a lot of times when patients make consultations with one of our doctors that do phone or video consultations, we don't write recommendations. I always invite their doctors in. Have you ever had any doctors that have come in with their patients yet?
I have not. I have not had a doctor attend a visit.
Yeah.
But
do you welcome it? Would you welcome it?
I would love that.
Okay.
But doctors, they're so busy.
Yeah.
I do get referral letters and records prior to the visit from the doctors. Yeah. I may even get a phone call to discuss the case. Hey, Dan, I'm sending over so-and-so. This is the problem. I'm hoping you can help. Right. And so we'll have a conversation. But no, I haven't had any actual referral doctors join. I visit the doctors to educate them. Yeah. But they don't come in with the patients too often.
Well, so it's a clean office in here. You'd be surprised in a lot of the doctors that we work with. Because we're here, there's no scent of marijuana or cannabis on premise. You don't have any products on premise. You don't distribute any products. So it is a normal, clean, safe office, and I think that's important as well.
It is, and I'm glad you brought that up, because a lot of folks don't know that. They think they're going to buy their cannabis from me. They think there's going to be people getting stoned in the waiting room. None of that is happening, and to my knowledge, none of that happens in any of the cannabis physician offices around here. So it's a safe and professional, comfortable environment. It's not hard. Yeah. It's easy.
Yeah. And when you meet with a cannabis doctor, you're not going there and he or she is not writing a prescription like you would, on a notepad. It's considered a recommendation that you're recommending medical cannabis for this patient, and they've been under your care and authorized to use medical cannabis and approved by you, the doctor, the medical expert, for whatever condition you or your loved one may be wanting to treat.
The difference between a prescription and a recommendation has to do with the DEA.
Okay.
As a physician with a DEA number, when I write a prescription on a prescription pad, I am basically telling the patient exactly what to take. This is what I want you to take. When it comes to cannabis, because it's illegal federally, I can't tell a patient exactly what to take in a prescription format. It's up to the patient to decide to take it after I make a recommendation and guide their therapy. I know it sounds like it's just semantics, but there is that legal ease that has to do with the recommendation versus a prescription. The recommendation I make has to do with the dosing, the administration method, and also the type of cannabis, the ratio, and so forth. We put that information in the computer. It's secure, it's HIPAA compliant, it's reviewed by the folks in Tallahassee for accuracy. They do match it with the patient's driver's license, but they don't share that information with other agencies.
Okay.
In certain cases, if law enforcement does need to access the registration system for evaluating a case where perhaps they are discussing someone's cannabis products with them at the roadside, and that particular patient says, "Oh, I have a card, I'm legal," the officers can go into the system and confirm that the registration is all legit.
Okay.
But other than that, there's no crosstalk between the registration systems having to do with different types of certifications, for example, firearms and other types of things.
Mm-hmm. You know, a lot of patients, especially in California, because it's been medically legal for 23 years in California, the majority of patients are not in a California system, and they prefer it that way. A lot of these states are popping up with new laws saying that you need to register and get a state-approved card. That's not the case in California. Personally, I like it the way it is in California because it's kind of an invasion of privacy, HIPAA law. They don't know, you don't need to know what medications you're on, Ambien if you're on a sleep pill or an anxiety pill. So it's not popping up in the system where cannabis could if you had a state card. What are your thoughts about that? Because I know it comes up. You mentioned earlier that one of your patients that had a legal concealed weapon charge, or excuse me, a legal concealed weapon license.
The veterans especially.
Yes.
But others too. We have a lot of guns in Florida, unfortunately. Sorry.
Yep.
But my understanding is that if you own a firearm, you can get a cannabis card, but you can't purchase a new firearm and you can't renew your carry permit because it's during those two processes that you're required to fill out that form from the DEA, I guess. So that's what I tell my patients. My understanding is that you're good to go as long as you don't purchase new and you don't renew your certificate, your carry permit. But as far as the crosstalk between the agencies, again, this is my understanding is that the information in the Office of Medical Marijuana Use, that's what we call it here, the OMMU. The information there with your registration, your personal information, including your protected health information, that information is not pushed to other agencies. Okay. Other agencies will not see that. For example, when an officer looks up someone's license plate, they will not see that you have a cannabis card. They have to go in and retrieve that information if they want to see it, if they have probable cause, let's say, if someone is carrying a bag of cannabis from the dispensary.
Gotcha. To be a legal patient in a lot of states, a lot of patients say, is my state legal? How do I become a legal patient? My recommendation is go to your Department of Health for your state. Each state, legal or not, will have they should have a medical cannabis division where you can go on to your state, say the state of Florida has a medical cannabis division, and ask, how do I become a medical cannabis patient and what are the steps? And so you're not embarrassing yourself because it's there. And so please don't be afraid to ask questions. Do your research on how to become a legal patient in your state and see what the laws are. It'll show you the qualified conditions. It'll show you the doctors that have been approved to write medical cannabis recommendations as well that you can go to, and then what is needed to become a legal patient. So Dr. Stein, with your patients, especially down here in Sarasota, Florida, you have a lot of senior patients. Do you ever run into the patient that's concerned that because they're in a system, and once their insurance or Medicare finds out about medical cannabis, that the patient is using medical cannabis because it's still federally illegal, that they're afraid they're going to lose their Medicare?
Not too often. When it comes to insurance coverage, the patients sometimes think that their medical insurance is going to cover the cost of the cannabis. I often have to explain to them that no, because cannabis is not legal federally, federal companies like insurance companies and banks for that matter want nothing to do with the cannabis industry. And that, of course, adds burden to what we're trying to do. And it adds cost to what the patient is trying to do. I do get that question about insurance sometimes with the vets, because there has been some misinformation about how veterans might lose their VA benefits if they get a cannabis card. And certainly if anybody's on the grid, as it were, it's vets.
Totally.
So I have to correct that not infrequently. And the answer is no. Veterans do not lose their benefits. Clearly, patients with Medicare and other insurance coverages do not lose their benefits either.
Before we move on, I want to go back to your senior population that is asking you, does Medicare cover this? Does Medicare cover my medicine? And unfortunately, not yet. What I do recommend for patients when they go into a dispensary is ask about senior discounts, ask about veteran discounts, ask for single parent discounts, ask for taking care of my child discounts. Ask for discounts. They have them there. So don't be afraid to ask about discounts. I don't know any dispensary, especially out in California, that's ever turned down a patient when you ask about discounts. And I've seen them up to 25% off discounts. Ask them about some days they have Monday discounts, or like at a car wash, come in on Monday and we'll give you a 20% off, or we have the senior discounts. Dispensaries, majority of dispensaries will do that as well. Maybe they have a happy hour. Come in between 3 and 5, get your medicine. We'll give you a 10% discount. So again, don't be afraid to ask these questions about coming in and getting a discount on your medicine. Majority of dispensaries will accompany you on that request. So this topic here is finding the right medical cannabis doctor, or finding a medical cannabis doctor that you want to work with. What do you recommend for patients? What's the next step when a patient leaves you and goes home and starts their protocol?
I think part of providing good medical care is follow-up. And especially with something as novel as cannabis therapy, we need to follow up with our patients. So I give the patient instructions, I give a protocol written down. I also give them something to take to the dispensary so that they don't forget what we discussed. And then I have them talk with our patient care coordinator, Brian, who introduces himself and indicates that he will be calling them within about 2 or 3 weeks to see how they are doing when they get started. We didn't always have Brian. What I did initially when we opened our clinic was have the patients call us if they needed us. That never worked out. People, for some reason, didn't want to call or email and let us know that maybe they weren't seeing the type of response they had hoped for. So they would come in later, months later, to get their recertification and indicate that the therapy wasn't working. And so we had to put a system in place to ensure follow-up within a month, so that there was a higher chance of patient success. I also instruct the patients, so when they get home and they start on their therapy, to keep track of their reactions. Take a personal inventory. Maybe write it down in a journal as you've suggested. And of course, look out for side effects.
Well, great. Thank you for that. And again, if you have any questions on how to find, what to look for when finding a medical cannabis doctor that's right for you, please submit your questions. We're here for you. We'll answer any question you submit to us on air. And if you're unable to join us, please submit your questions. We'll answer them on air, and you'll have access to the patient's portal as well. So this is, again, Module 7, Lesson 1. In the next lesson, we're going to be talking about side effects. So we'll see you then. Thank you. Good night. Remember, if you don't have a medical cannabis doctor in your area, you can reach out to our own medical expert, Dr. Stein, who can help point you in the right direction. There are other options as well, so be sure to check out United Patients Group for a local directory of approved medical cannabis physicians, or have a one-on-one consultation with one of our medical experts. In our next lesson, we'll learn more on what should a patient do to get the best results. How will they know they're experiencing side effects, and what kind of side effects they may expect, and what can they do to overcome them? We'll explore all these questions in our lesson number 2, Treating Side Effects from Cannabis or Bad Drug Interactions. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you soon.